Today, in an all-new expedition, we head deep into the Northeast Texas woods to see what important piece of Texas history this man found while squirrel hunting there. But first, a look at a few other times we found lost history deep in the woods.
Texas is full of lost history, from lost cemeteries to abandoned buildings, from the infamous to the obscure.
Not many people know this building's out here.
Hitch a ride and travel across the Lone Star State, looking for hints of Texas' colorful past.
This is the Alamo compound.
Our lost history. This is Expedition Texas, and we're gonna find it.
Expedition Texas started out with a hike in the woods, an idea that lost history is sometimes deep in the woods or right before your eyes. In our very first episode, we found ourselves venturing into the woods not once, but twice. First, we hiked down a bypassed road in Cuthand, Texas to find the abandoned iron bridge that once crossed the Sulphur River there. We found it.
Oh, yeah. I'd about ready to give up.
Oh, be careful.
Here's a little bit of the original road from where it washed out. That's a chunk of the road right there. It just washes out because it's gone. This is, there's thorns, be careful. The river is way up. The bank of the river is almost up all the way to where the bridge comes in here to meet us. So if I try to cross the bridge and I fall in, I'm gonna sink a long ways. More thorns. The river has been up around here. You can see some critters have been down here to the water since the flood. But Sulphur River's up. This is the old iron bridge at Cuthand.
Also on our first episode, we followed a trail into the woods near the Killough Monument in East Texas in an attempt to confirm that a cabin was hidden in the woods. All we found was a snake who didn't want us there.
If there was anything over here, it isn't here anymore. And that's as far into these woods as I'm gonna go. So that wraps up the Killough Monument expedition. We're done, we're going back. I've got thorns all over me, mosquito bites, and I think we're done. Now if we can get it back across the creek without running into the snake again, it'll be good.
One of our most exciting trips into the forest was near Austin, Texas, just outside the small town of Bee Cave, to find a cemetery hidden from view for nearly 100 years.
You need to duck here. Make sure you duck. There you go. Okay. Somewhere we'll see a fence.
The path gets a little thicker and gets a little narrower as you go along, and but just a little ways into the woods, you walk along and you come up on a fenced-off area, which is where the old Freitag cemetery is.
I see a fence back there. Well, in those days, I'm pretty sure that they just used a piece of their own land. To bury those that they needed to, and of course they did it at some distance away from the house.
And the reason we have access to this is because you have relatives out here.
I have relatives out here.
Wow, okay, let's go check it out.
Yep. Okay, you can see the cemetery right there. And recently looks like some of the family may have replaced the fence. We've got old fence posts here that were probably from the original fence. And there's a gate on this side, this corner down there. So we want to go in over that way.
Wow, the old gate?
There's the old fence, the original fence. It looks like it's still actually pretty good.
Look at this old cemetery.
Not a lot here. Like I said, it's a small family cemetery.
But wow, it's really cool. Some of the headstones here, you don't see headstones like
I think this one's so old I don't even know who is buried there. My grandparents or great-great-great-grandparents are right here and here.
Three greats, great-great-great-grandparents. John, Frederick, Freitag or Freitag, we haven't decided
Freitag
yet.
or Freitag.
Passed away in May 1909.
Born in 1817, died in 1909.
And then Elsie over here.
Elsie Otten Freitag. Now there's an Otten cemetery that's even harder to get to than this one.
Really?
Yes.
Okay.
She was born 1825, died in 1903. He's an immigrant directly from Germany.
Really? So what got you interested initially in coming out and finding, I mean, obviously you had to know somebody or do something to find that this cemetery was here and to find your great-great-great-grandparents' graves.
Yeah, exactly. You know, it all started with my aunt, Virginia Turner. She's doing genealogy, and she did a lot of the research, as a matter of fact, most of it. And digging up all this information and getting it all together for the family, and she shared it with most of us, and we're just really excited about getting it. And you know, when you get that excitement, you want to come out and see it for yourself.
Yeah.
If Gail had not been doing research on her family and trying to research where the people in her family tree were buried now and gathering information about her own family, she would have never found this cemetery, and it's very doubtful that anybody around there even knows it's there.
So Gail, some efforts have been made to, you know, keep the cemetery roped off, and you know, with the new fence and everything, we found some old fence posts out here.
Yeah, probably the original fence posts that, you know, they could be 150 years old. My guess is they probably are.
Right, and we have the grave of Dorothea over here,
which looks like it's the oldest grave here, 15-year-old daughter.
Really?
I don't know, you know, what could have possibly happened to her, but you know, that is a young age. Back in those days was common.
Right. When did she pass away?
She died in 1865, so she was 15 years old.
So this is out here, and just people driving by this area don't know that among these trees.
I have no idea. As a matter of fact, most of the people that work in, you know, the building next door probably have no idea that this cemetery is back here.
We found some really neat old graves out there that day, and Gail actually knows about more and has invited us back to see them sometime. We're gearing up for a hike into the woods where this man says he found an important piece of Texas history. We're going to find it, but first, we're reliving the times that our expeditions have taken us into the woods. In our third episode, we found the remains of the small town of Stone Point.
All right, we're going into the trees now where the blacksmith shop is. I can see a little bit of wood off in here, so I know we're on the right track.
We're on the wrong side, but we're in the right direction. Something just moved in there.
Oh, that's gonna be fun. Something just moved. We'll find it when we go around the other side.
Sam pulled the door open, and just as he did, I saw something run off.
A chicken? What was that, Buzzard?
A chicken? Where do you see a chicken?
Some kind of bird just went back that way in the corner.
There's a big bird feather and a lot of bird poop. And we're not alone. There's a buzzard over here in the corner. She's probably got some eggs and she's gonna get mad at us. Neat old piece of equipment that'll probably sit here and rot, but buried in the dirt is a stone that he probably sharpened plows and sickles and things on. It's a good sharpening stone there that's probably 100 years old. There's how you dug post holes to build fences back in the day. It's probably just a workbench, but it's made of a tree stump and a wooden block over here with a piece of steel on top of it that was probably one of the most useful pieces of equipment he had.
It was like this blacksmith shop was frozen in time. It's like he just got up and walked out and left it one day.
Over here is like the firebox where he would heat things up to bend them, and it looks like down below we have the bellows here.
Yeah, the bellow is still down there, and you can see this hose coming up where the smoke would roll out, I'm sure. If you look down here on the ground, there's actual pieces of coal that he actually used. There's no telling how old these little pieces of coal are.
And finally, our most difficult trip into the woods, Fuller Park in Athens, Texas. We had visited the graves of the Reverend and Mrs. Fuller with our guide, but when it came time to find the monkey cage that was rumored to exist on the property, we were on our own.
We've got to be onto something. I mean, this property's only so big, right? And we've seen, what, 10% of it? So if we stay here till dark, we should find it. Better yet, after what I've heard about this place, we don't want to stay here till after dark. No monkey cages on this side. In fact, we just ran into the back fence.
So we kept walking and kept cutting through the brush and thinking how nice it would have been if we had brought some way to cut our way through the brush.
but we didn't. Whoa, I got something here. What is this? I think we found some monkey cages. So it's true. Now, anybody that wants to try to debunk this, I would have to beg to differ. Holy cow. Got a steel center post. And who knows, maybe back in the old days, a lot of monkey poo on the floor. But here it is, the monkey cages at Fuller Park. And I can't really think of any other explanation for what these are. So it wasn't just a rumor. I knew if there were enough people saying it was still out here, it was still out here. And we it wasn't exactly as easy to get to as Rich was thinking it was. Apparently time, the 2 years that it's been since he's been here, the 10 years or so that it's been since other people have been here, falling trees, brush growing up, it's just made it really hard to find. We actually came in the back way, and hopefully one of these trails we're following will get us out of here. But we finally found it after a long expedition into Fuller Park. We finally found the monkey cage at Fuller Park.
On Expedition Texas, we've gone hiking through the woods to look for lost history many times. Most recently, we discovered an abandoned mine and a steam engine near Lovelady, Texas. Earlier this season, we found an old water tower that was once a part of Camp Fannin. But now it's time to travel into the woods for a new discovery, one made by this man.
Well, I was squirrel hunting and I just came up on this, it was a white PVC pipe sticking up out of the ground, and kind of got me curious, so I went over there and looked at the marker, and it said Republic of Texas and United States, so that was pretty interesting.
Did you have any idea what you were looking at?
I didn't have a clue, and that's when I got my son-in-law. I knew he was interested in history, so I asked him about it, and he went and found out the details about it.
Well, by treaty in 1819, the state line or the international boundary was set at the 32nd latitude, starting at the Sabine River and going north to the Red River. So because there was no natural feature that showed the boundary line, it had to be marked, it had to be surveyed. And that's what this is the survey markers to denote that survey done between the Sabine and the Red River. Generally, a group of 50 laborers plus military personnel marched on foot from the Sabine River 107 miles, dropping a marker or constructing a marker every mile until they reached the Red River.
Were you surprised with what you found and how just out in the woods it was?
Oh yeah, I was. I didn't, just walking up there and found it, didn't have a clue what it was. Yeah.
So we're taking off into the woods, huh?
We are.
How far is this?
From here, we got to go about a mile.
I should have brought my tennis shoes, man. Something.
Napalm.
We're on the Texas-Arkansas state line. We've been told that subtle markers driven into mounds of dirt mark the old international boundary between Texas and the United States. Now we're headed into the woods to find the surprise discovery made on an early morning squirrel hunt.
So you were squirrel hunting when you found this, right?
Right.
Did you get any squirrels that day?
Oh yeah.
You did? How many did you bag?
I got my limit.
Really?
Yeah.
Hey Bob, marker's this way.
So, were you just hunting squirrels falling along the creek and then you came up and saw this, or?
Actually, my dog had a squirrel tree right over there.
Uh-huh.
And we found the squirrel, shot him out, and then got to looking around and saw that PVC pipe sticking up over there. So
it's not sticking up very far. You had to be looking for it, didn't you?
It was sticking up enough. I saw white, and I come to investigate.
Yeah, well, let's go investigate now. Well, this is definitely out in the middle of the woods.
Middle of nowhere. Republic of Texas, 1841, United States. Surveyors Historical Society, restored in 2001.
Huh.
Originally, the crew built mounds of dirt 5 feet tall and had a 8-foot stake on top. And on the eastern side of the stake was written U.S. for United States. On the western side of the stake would have been a T for Texas. On the south side of the stake would have been the year and the month it was put up. And at the bottom, 18 inches below ground, was supposed to be a glass vial which contained parchment that had the date and the time it was installed.
So did you bring a shovel? We're gonna try to dig it up and see if we can find that bottle down there?
Well, it's 18 inches deep and it's kind of hot today, so I thought we would just...
we just kind of guess.
Yeah, we'll just pretend like it's there and leave it for posterity.
Yeah, yeah. But originally, Republic of Texas, the rest of the United States, or well, the United States at that time, this is where the border was.
We were on the international border.
We're standing right now on an international border.
We are.
Does anybody have their phone? We can look at the map.
According to this, state line is that dotted line, and then we're this dot here. So it's actually between us and the railroad track. So we appear to be right on it.
We're pretty much right on it.
And now it's moved on top of the line, so we're very close. They found their way. Every night at midnight they would shoot the stars like a sailor would, you know, take a sextant measurement of the North Star, etc., and find their location for the next day. From the information I read, they only stopped one day, and that was to observe the death of President Harrison.
Really?
That was the only day they stopped.
So now, if I was going to take off walking from here, which I'm not, I wore the wrong shoes for that today for sure, which way would I go to find the next marker?
1 mile that direction, or 1 mile that direction.
This is definitely very cool to find off out here in the middle of the woods after a pretty good hike down by some railroad tracks to come out here and see this.
Snatched from the jaws of obscurity.
Yeah.
Though the original international border markers have been replaced with the small pole structures like the one Gary found while squirrel hunting, one original marker does exist on the Texas-Louisiana state line at Louisiana Highway 765 and Texas FM 31. It's a solid post of granite dated 1840 and recognized with a Texas historical marker nearby. There's lost history all over the state, down city streets, country roads, and sometimes even in the middle of the woods. And on Expedition Texas, we're gonna find it.
The state line is right behind us, about 50 feet. And
so we're in Arkansas?
Right now we're in Arkansas.
Well, we better pick up and move. We've already broken the rules here.